Hello, welcome to Headlines. My name is Chwi Lynn. Here are the week's highlights. The week has been quite a somber one with the passing of Asian giant Kuan Yew on Monday at the age of 91. Further afield, budget German airline Germanwings confirmed that one of their planes crashed in the French Alps in the middle of the week. French prosecutors have said that the co-pilot had locked the pilot out of the cockpit and deliberately crashed the plane. Meanwhile, PM Najib has released a statement saying that obesity is a serious threat to the country's productivity. On the other hand, you know what else is a serious threat? Twitter, because the IGP says that there are 126,000 cops monitoring Twitter 24/7 because, effective use of trained policeman time. And on the subject of the Prevention of Terrorism Act, according to PM Najib, Putrajaya's intention in strengthening the Sedition Act is to maintain a harmonious relationship between different races and religions in the country. It was with that in mind that the government planned to table the Prevention of Terrorism Act in Parliament to enable preliminary steps to be taken to curb terrorism. He said that there is no political motive behind this proposal because why should there be? And the implementation of the new law would be administered by a competent body and not by members of the administration. He did also say, though, that freedom without responsibility has no place in this country, so make of that what you will. And finally, for our main story of the week, we have the three most anticipated and dreaded letters of all, GST. So to start us off, let's look at this question. Why is everyone so angry? Because it seems like everyone is. There are anti-GST rallies, there have been arrests at those rallies, there have been rants on the issue on social media. So the question is, are we right to be angry? Well, our PM has previously assured us that the GST will not burden Malaysians, that 30 years of research have gone into this, blah, 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 ad nauseum. And it might be reassuring to know that compared with other ASEAN countries, we do have the lowest tax percentage even compared to somewhere like Thailand. However, we did not start at the lowest as Singapore started at 3% and gradually increased that to 7%. So that raises the question, will our GST increase gradually as well? What's being taxed and what isn't? Here's a quick list of what is. Credit card transactions, banking services, private healthcare, books, housing, fuel, electricity, basically everything you need for your modern life. What isn't? Almost all fresh foods, sugar, bread, rice, Panadol for that headache you'll have trying to figure this out. And while everyone's trying to keep track of what is exempt and what isn't, well, in the end, everything in Malaysia will increase in price because, we like that. And a healthy mix of paranoia and opportunism is at an all-time high. So here's a mini example of that, right? Though not everything in Malaysia is meant to increase in price, some Malaysians will take advantage of this tax implementation for their own greed, or good business sense, take your pick. For example, taxi fares will be increased by 43% according to the Public Transport Commission. However, according to analysts, GST has nothing to do with the increased rates of taxi fares. So why are people taking advantage of GST and, this D-Day implementation date of April 1st? It could be due to a general fear of how GST is going to impact their cost of living and therefore a desire to make lemonade out of lemons. Or just sheer opportunism, but that's for you to decide if that's how you want to think of the kindly uncle driving you to Mont Kiara tonight. Since it isn't April 2nd and I'm not Marty McFly, I can't predict what life at GST is going to be like with 100% accuracy. Instead, this is all I can offer. What are the purported advantages of GST? Well, since according to our Prime Minister, only 10% of Malaysians pay taxes, when GST is implemented, it taxes everyone's goods, so now everyone gets taxed, thereby spreading it out. The more you consume, the more you spend. Theoretically, this in the long run is good because it makes us aware of how we should control our consumption in order to control our spending. Also for the government, it increases their revenue, which is something that we've said we really need. Also for us, the government has promised to cut income taxes by 1 to 3%. Now, raising government revenue should, in an ideal world, enrich the country and its people. It should, in theory, come back to us in a variety of ways: education, public spaces, infrastructure. On top of that, the government has said that they will be monitoring prices after the GST has been implemented, so hopefully things don't get too out of control. Now, here's the thing, I keep using phrases like ideal world and theoretically because you know what? Neither of those things really apply. In an ideal world where we trusted our governments because they have a proven track record of doing things that were right for the rakyat, we'd be less inclined to be so angry and suspicious of this addition to our already high cost of living. But like almost anywhere in the world, we do not live in that country, and recent events have made it even harder to have that trust. So what's left to do? I can't tell you what to do. I'm just here to tell you what I'm going to do, which is to play the long game and to try as hard as I can to keep our government accountable. We do that by asking the right questions. What kind of questions should those be? To my mind, what are you doing with this extra money that you're gaining from the GST? How is it going to come back and benefit me as a Malaysian? And lastly, if it really does weigh too heavily on those not earning enough, what happens then? You know that old cliche, I don't have to throw it at you, but I will anyway because I like it. Nothing's certain in life but death and taxes. And so come April 2nd, GST is going to come for you and your chicken nuggets and me and my lipstick. That is it from me this week on Headlines. Thank you so much for watching. See you next week. Maybe.